Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Luca, and welcome to the Humcast. With me today I have Wexter.
Yo.
Heavenly.
Hello.
And Lido.
Good evening, everybody.
And this week we're probably going to start talking about what we've been watching, but first we're going to talk about a specific subject, namely because I've been noticing that Wexter has been watching a lot of fan service anime recently.
Make it stop!
So how about we get into the concept of fan service?
Well, to put this into perspective, a lot of people who've been listening to our episodes recently know that I've been part of the stupid challenge thread on Hummingbird, and I've actually started declining challenges just because everything I've been watching has been like, please stop. Please stop. But a lot of the shows I've been recommended have been very, very fan servicey. From shit like Fate Ilia to stuff like High School of the Dead, High School DxD, like stuff like Shuffle. Like there's been so much fan service with the stuff I've been watching recently. It's actually gotten to the point where I'm not enjoying it at all.
You've become desensitized to boobage?
Oh, total desensitized to boobage nicheness. Boobies.
Yeah, that happens when you watch way too much ecchi.
Way too much ecchi.
And that's my thing with fan service, is I don't have an issue, and in fact, I actually kind of like fan service on the side of the moe or the cutesy kind of look. Like, that I can go for and watch and really enjoy it. But when you start falling into the ecchi portion where you've got boobs, but, almost like just showing it off because it's there and you can show it off. I feel like it's kind of, I've seen these things in real life. I don't care for them here. Like, I mean, that's great that it has it, and sometimes it's appropriate or funny, but most of the time it's just like they're throwing it there to throw it there. But at least with like the moe or the cutesy kind of thing, you have, it's adorable, it's eye candy, it's that kind of thing. It's not mature, like anyone can enjoy it regardless of their preferences or, stuff like that.
I personally started with a lot of fan service. Like, one of the first anime I've been watching was Kiss Exist, and then High School DxD and Rosario to Vampire, and all this stuff was like when I started watching it. So nowadays it's like, why the heck is this skirt even moving like this? That's totally unrealistic. And I'm just like, bored
and that's not
of
even
it.
the half of it.
Okay.
Like Wexter brought up High School of the Dead earlier. That has some interesting boob physics right there.
To put this into proper context, I liked the show. I enjoyed it. Okay, I just want to say this right now. I liked it. But I found, like, the moments with the fan service, like, completely removed me from the experience. Like,
You mean
I understand
every moment?
I know it's supposed to be an over-the-top zombie gore fest. Like, that's the big point of the show, is they're killing zombies, and it's fan service. It's over-the-top ridiculousness. But to compare it to another show I really enjoyed, Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon had fan service. Let's be honest here. A lot of the girls were pretty well-endowed.
There were a lot of skippy stuff you saw. It wasn't uncommon for that kind of thing to happen. I feel like it was... Black Lagoon, though, is more like violence porn, almost. Like,
yeah.
They didn't try to hammer the fan service. Like, there was clear fan service with, Revy. I mean, it was obvious it was there, and then the difference is that with Revy, it was there, but they never really tried to show it off a lot. In High School of the DxD and High School of the
DxD.
High School of the DxD and High School of the Dead both kind of showed off the fan service a lot more and the characters, which, again, is alright to a point, but when you start doing it too much, it starts to become something like you're noticing a little too much. And when you start overly noticing things, I feel like it takes away from everything else.
Yeah, my problem is that it pulled me out of the show. Like, there was an episode where they were actually literally, I think it was like a hot tub or something.
Right.
And, like, the size of those boobs, I was just like, how do you not have lower back problems?
Yeah, and...
Because this is anime, of course. What do you think
I
this
understand
is?
that, but at the same time, like, if I were to compare it to, like, High School of DxD, I didn't mind it
High
there
School
because...
of the DxD.
Because there were, like, different levels of boobage. You had your A cup, your B cup, your C cup, your D, and your double D. There were, like, different levels of it.
Right.
So,
You had at least one E cup in it.
exactly. You had the different levels of boobage. So, I didn't mind it as much because it's like, well, at least it's kind of semi-realistic.
Semi.
They diversify
I mean,
the
scrap
fan
the
They
entire
service.
diversify,
semen
yeah.
thing. That stuff's realistic right there.
What you're
Yeah.
telling me is they give equality to people who like big boobs and like no boobs.
Exactly. And my problem with High School of the Dead is that all of them were walking around with like double D's or E cups, and I was just like, how?
For a fun
How
fact,
is
that they're
this-
high schoolers, so all of them in the same high school somehow.
It's
Except for the teacher.
Except for the
who is,
teacher,
you know,
yeah.
older.
Who, you know, of course, the teacher's just over the top, even more so than the others.
Yeah.
It's just it killed the experience for me to a degree. Now I'm not gonna say it completely ruined the show for me, but it was something that bothered me while watching it, especially the actual boob physics. I was like, are they trying to arouse me or make me want to go
Just like-
have a balloon fight, like a water balloon fight?
Just like there's one bit that I remember in like episode 3 or so when like Ray gets off the bus and she turns around, like her boobs just like have a little mini rave party. I'm just sitting there like, I'm pretty sure they don't work like that.
Right, it's,
Yeah, and also
I mean, I love the
during
show
some of
to
the
death, but
like, I remember there was the action scene where, like, a sniper bullet came through, like, the crowd, like, to the zombies.
Right.
And Sayaka literally did, like, the boob matrix. Like, her boobs
no.
literally
It wasn't her, it was
bullet.
the brown-haired girl.
Brown hair?
Yeah, it was brown hair.
Okay, it was brown hair? To be honest, I not remember that. But I was positive it was Sayaka, but whatever. And, like, her boobs literally did the boob matrix. Like, the bullet passed through her boobs while she was dodging it.
oh no, that was Psycho. Yeah.
Everyone knows
That-
that
that's-
scene, though.
Okay, I just
that's
confirmed
iconic.
that it is indeed her. My bad.
Whatever.
God.
Doesn't change the
I
fact
think
that
we had the other boob rave party.
Right.
the boob rate.
That happens like
Yeah.
2 seconds later.
Yeah, but either way, I was just like, what? It was just too much. It was just a little bit too much that it pulled me out of the experience. But overall, I did enjoy the show. It had a lot of good action scenes. Those were well choreographed. It was
But
funny.
you see, that's
was-
not what we're talking about.
Yeah, but...
We're talking about fan service.
Oh,
the,
man.
The biggest problem I have with fan service is a lot of the time it's used to cover up the not so great aspects of a show.
Yeah.
Right.
To distract you from them. I mean, like critically, High School of the Dead's enjoyable, but the story's crap, the characters are crap.
Mm,
I don't know, I
I
kind
don't
of
know,
like the characters.
Season 2, I think, actually redeemed a lot of that.
I'm talking about High School of the Dead.
Oh, High School of the Dead. Okay, High School of the Dead.
Quit,
Thought you were talking about
mixing
DxD.
the two up. I swear to God.
Why do their titles have to be so similar?
They aren't even similar. One
They
is
both
High
start
School
with
of
high
the
school.
Dead.
They have
Yeah.
High School and D in it. That's all they have similar extra.
I'm sorry, it just... messes me up all the time. I feel awful.
If you want, you can go by the actual pronunciation of High School DxD, which is High School DD.
High School DD. No, just no.
No, just...
But-
Which DD stands for double
yeah.
D.
Yeah, but I'm inclined to agree with you. The characters in High School of the Dead weren't necessarily fantastic.
A lot of them were cookie cutter, and I'm pretty sure.
But they were enjoyable.
fan service. They were enjoyable, but I'm just merely saying that it's very likely that the fan service was to distract you from the fact that they are high schoolers who are kicking way too much ass in the zombie apocalypse.
Right,
Yeah,
I kind of, when I watched it, I watched like the first 3 episodes, and I knew that I was not gonna get some really good story. I knew that from almost the beginning, I want to say. Just by looking at the series, you got this overboard of ecchi, you've got this, the characters are kind of a little strange, things aren't kind of really folding out realistically, so I kind of went into it expecting something that probably wouldn't be that great, but might have been enjoyable, and I think that's what I got.
Yeah.
It was really enjoyable.
Yeah. And so that we don't totally, like, just bash High School of the Dead for this, there are other shows that aren't truly ecchi that have these moments. Pet Girl of Sakura So, the first 4 episodes was pretty heavy on fan service. Not an extreme level, but it was...
But you see, I think
It was
that
just enough.
you can't say almost the same thing, because I feel like Sakuraso, which is the same series, is they kind of went more on the cutesy side of the...
Oh, they did.
And
They
the
did. I'm just
moist
talking about,
side?
like,
But yeah, I
like
think
the first
that-
3 to 4 episodes.
Right, but I still
There
think
was
that makes
bit
a
of
very large difference compared to the ecchi portion.
Yeah.
Like, they're both fan service, but in the same way, they can help you define a series totally different. Like, in the first episode of Sakuraso, if you saw her with her boobs hanging out, you would have totally expected probably something different from what you got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly, but I'm just saying, like, that show, though, when a lot of people drop the show in the first 2 episodes because they're like, oh, great, it's going to be one of these fan servicey romps, when actually the rest of the show, once you get past like the first 2 to 4 episodes where there is a lot of fan service, it's fantastic.
You can't judge a comedy, romance, slice of life series based on the first 3 episodes anyways. Like, most of the stuff that's going to happen is going to be towards the middle, or you can't judge it that early on. It's a bit too soon. That sounds like a personal issue if they're dropping it that quickly. Because you do have to consider, right? You have to consider that with those types of series, they do often, the first few episodes are kind of filler, introduction, that kind of thing is going on.
I'm just saying, for some people, though, the amount of fan services in those episodes immediately turned them off it. Which is unfortunate, because I think the problem is that there's so much an oversaturation of the over-sexualized fan service.
Like what you would see in High School of the Dead and High School of the DxD.
Yeah, that, to a degree, like, shows that are legitimately good could get passed over because of it.
Well, I'm going to bring up Sword Art Online because a lot of people flipped out in the first season, that there was fan service in some points, because there was, when they started doing one of the arcs, there was a clear point where they started adding fan service very notably.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You may or may not, I'm not sure, but that, like, people started flipping out over it, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, it was there, but that's what it was. I mean, they made a bigger deal out of it than it actually needed to be made, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's what people do with fan service, especially in the forming community. They like to tear apart things, and fan service is the first thing.
Fan service is ruining anime. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Yeah.
People think like you have to add fan service to cover up with something, and a lot of times series do that. That's a makeup, like we said earlier, is that fan service can be used to make up or distract you from something. But at the same time, fan service can be implemented just as an extra thing to add. Like, you could do an over-the-shoulder view, or you could do a below-the-butt view. One's fan service, one's not.
I think
You know
the best comparison for fan service that I've heard, I don't really remember where I've heard it, is that fan service is like gravy. If you don't really want to drink gravy pure, but a bit of gravy is always awesome.
Gravy
I
is pretty great.
I suppose that works out fine.
I prefer more gravy on my mashed potatoes than most people. I'm just gonna say that
I'm not a gravy on my potatoes person. I like it on bread. Bread.
And now it's cooking time with Homecast. This is Luke, and with me today I have Heavenly.
Right. I am like a borderline professional chef, so you guys can respect that. Don't judge my chefing skills.
Can we have fan service of Heavenly cooking, essentially?
Only if you buy the maid outfit.
And here's the thing, though, and when you get a series like, probably I'd say the first season of Psycho Pass or Fate Zero, where there's like barely any fan service, if at all, people, I think, praise those shows more. Like, they're more inclined to go, oh, yay!
Right, but if you go back and look at Fate Zero, which had notably no fan service, as soon as Ilya came along, oh my god, the fan service was everywhere. And no one complained about that. Everyone was awesome about it. They loved it. They made gifs of it, etc., etc. But why wasn't it a problem then, is the thing.
Well,
are you talking about Fate Zero or Fate Stay Night or Fate
Zero?
What?
Fate Zero.
Like,
come on, when Ilya was
Ilya.
added.
It's not.
No, but the thing is that was more cutesy stuff.
But it was still fan service.
It was.
Well, that and it served a purpose in the actual show. They made it actually work within what they had in order to flesh out Kitsuga's character.
Right, I guess.
I didn't really find it to be fan service at all. It served a specific purpose, and while it was fan service-ish because Moe, it wasn't really the focus.
Yeah. But I mean, let's take those 2 shows and see how much the fan bases would have like turned on them. If let's take Saber, and instead of being a flat chest character, she's instead rocking a D cup. Alright? And her armor is meant to be very revealing. Or let's take Akane from Psycho Pass, and let's make her also very voluptuous, very, very pretty, very much so your average.
But you see, they already fan service Akame.
We're not talking about Akame got killed. We're talking about Psycho Pass.
Talking about Psycho
okay.
Akane.
The character Akane from Psycho Pass.
The character Akane from Psycho Pass. Let's say they took her and made her like very over sexualized. Would people be appreciating Psycho Pass the same way?
You had the blonde girl that was kind of overly sexualized in Psycho Pass.
Yeah, but that was part of her character.
She was there for like I barely remember her in the show.
How can you barely remember her? She's a memorable character.
She's a memorable character, but I'm talking about, like, the main characters. Like, let's turn up the sexual meter on them to the extreme. Do you think these people would be praising these shows nearly as much as they do?
Well, I think if you do anything over the top, it turns into bad. You need to moderate anything.
I think
that's a moot point for me. You need to moderate anything. That's just the way it is. Nothing is good in too much or not enough. Everything has to be balanced.
We need more episodes so it can drag on. Let's finish it in 2 episodes, guys. Let's finish the entire second half in 2 episodes. I think that'd be better.
So I'm gonna switch topics real quick because I know Wexter wanted to talk about Hataraku no Mao-sama. So
yeah.
So you watched that for a change.
Oh, that was a part-timer.
That casual English name, which is horrible.
I don't know. It's actually kind of really close to what it should be called, anyway.
Now, did you watch it subbed or dubbed?
I watched it. I watched it first dubbed, and then I watched it subbed.
And you're gonna say that the subs are better than the dubs, right?
Not necessarily. I think the dub was very well done.
Stop being a sub-elitist.
You know, I watched Hataraku no Mao-sama, and I was curious about the dubs, so I decided I'd go back and watch the dubs.
I think it was a competent dub.
And I didn't like the way the voices sounded. I feel like, especially with the Yusha, you know what I mean? The girl. She was very, almost kind of like, it felt like her voice was too light in the dub. Like, I feel like she could have had a more, yeah, but I feel like most of the time, it's almost like she has a more semi-mature voice. In the dubbed, it felt like it was more an immature voice, if that makes sense.
I don't really mind that. I don't really mind that, because she did have a fair amount of moments of immaturity.
Right.
Yeah.
And
she's
then,
not a very mature character, in my opinion. I've only seen like 4 episodes, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, I didn't really mind that because I felt like it worked perfectly fine. Because if you take the devil character, for example, and you listen to his English voice actor, he is very much so. Doesn't sound like deep, foreboding demon of death. He's kind of a very light, fluffy sounding voice as well. So I think it just matches the overall tone of the show to keep all the voices consistent.
You completed it, didn't you?
Yes, I completed it.
Then you know that's because he's not.
Oh, I know. I know. But I mean, like, to keep the tone of the show the same, you gotta keep the voice direction kind of the same.
I guess so far. I didn't like the voices. I'm not gonna say that they were absolutely horrible. If I wanted to say they were absolutely horrible, I'd look at Dead Man Wonderland and kill myself. But the dubs, I didn't like them personally, but I don't think that they were horrible.
I personally think that the dub is either on par with the sub or maybe slightly below it. It's not necessarily the best dub out there. Cowboy Bebop, yes.
I can't agree with that assessment.
I'm sorry, Cowboy Bebop.
You're heavenly and you're a sub-elitist, so of course you wouldn't be able to.
Do we really have nothing better to discuss than sub versus dub at the moment?
Well, I think that it needs to be covered.
Let's actually talk though about
anime shit.
Let's talk actually though about the overall content of the show rather than ADR direction. But I overall really liked the show. Like when Lee, I think we were talking about this show, maybe one of the earlier episodes of Humcast. I think we were actually talking about this.
Really?
At some point, we might have. I can't remember exactly.
I mean, I've watched a lot of stuff when we were doing the earlier episodes of Humcast. So.
No, but I think the show's premise like came up, and I initially thought, oh, that sounds not that interesting. Sounds kind of bad.
I think you may be talking about me, because I'm pretty sure I mentioned it when it was airing, and you guys blew it off.
Yeah, we're only watching.
We need someone who is a professional.
Atari Season 2. Who needs that?
Right.
But let's though. I was just saying, like when I first heard about the premise of the show, it wasn't something that immediately made me go, "Ooh, gotta go watch this." But you know what? I checked it out, and it was actually really, really good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I think the characters were fun. The interactions were fun. I think the story overall was actually pretty solid. If I do have one complaint, it just kind of ends. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the light novels continue.
Yeah, but I mean, like
that requires translating them to the English language.
Right, and I think that they do have a translation, but that's not the point.
I think
an unofficial translation, that is.
I think that's one of the biggest problems with the show. It's this end, and this whole show is kind of a different type of show. I've never quite found something similar to it. So if you really enjoyed it, you are stuck with, well, nothing.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of what I've just looked at, if you like Devil's a Part-Timer, you probably should check out I Couldn't Become a Hero, so I reluctantly decided to get a job.
Okay, I know the Japanese title of that is long, but I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know this title.
It basically has a very similar premise.
Basically, the guy was going to be a hero, but then the Demon King died before he graduated from hero school. And then I think that it's... I want to say... I can't remember. I think it had something to do with, like, the Demon King working with him or something. I didn't watch it, but yeah.
I didn't watch it either, but...
But I mean, the thing is that this is my biggest problem with Devil's a Part-Timer as a show itself. Not... I know you could defend shows with this kind of ending, but I mean, my problem with it is that it didn't feel conclusive, really. It just kind of was just like, cheers, call back to the first episode, done.
Right, but no matter how you kind of do it, it would have been conclusive in the ending, because you have either they go back or they don't go back. And in both ways, you need a continuation to tell the rest of the story.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, that's just kind of a problem with me with this particular show, is that the show is very unique, it's very good, it's very fun, it's got a lot of great characters going in and out, but it just kind of stops. This is an issue I had with stuff like My Romantic Teen Comedy Snafu, is it feels like it just kind of
Well, I mean, with romance,
stops.
You're going to get that a lot, in anime at least.
Yeah, I mean, I had that same problem with The World God Only Knows, Wexter, so it depends.
Yeah, you're going to get it with The World God Only Knows as well, yes. It happens in there.
But I mean, the issue I have, let's say this compared to The World God Only Knows Season 3, is that the Season 3 was just like such an amazing rush, and then you got that ending and you're like,
oh, go read the manga.
Go read the manga.
Yeah, basically.
You could say it was a go read the manga ending, but at the same time, it was, that entire arc was just filled with
I said it before, I didn't really like the Season 3 guy.
I wasn't too crazy about it.
I liked the episodic way that The World God Only Knows worked. I would have found it more interesting. They just kept on that route. I didn't really feel the need to have more of a plot. I didn't really want more of a plot out of The World God Only Knows. I knew that there wasn't going to be a plot in The World God Only Knows. I mean, for me, yeah, and then they threw in a plot when I didn't want it for once. Like, there's a bunch of series I can say, oh, I wish this series had a plot. And in one series that I say I wish that didn't have a plot, what do? They throw a plot into it.
But here's the problem, though, is The World God Only Knows always did have a plot.
It did, but it
was
didn't.
slowly introduced over time. So that way when Season 3 happened, you weren't immediately slapped across the face going, what's going on?
No,
really? 'Cause that's what I feel
really.
like.
Because that's exactly what they did. And the only thing they did to make you feel like it was something that was ongoing is they recycled characters.
I wouldn't say that, though. But the thing is that if you take things like Season 2, the whole Aqua arc, is that was introducing like this bigger thing going on than just the characters. It was introducing that kind of thing.
Hence why it was my least favorite arc in Season 2.
And then you have...
You know that anytime you're starting to deal with any form of society, there's more than meets the eye. I don't feel like that was some type of key hint.
Then we have the Tenri OVA, which I thought was fantastic.
Which most people
introduced
did not watch.
an even more bigger story. And then you have Season 3, where all these hints throughout a bigger narrative finally come in. It's just like, here we go. Bigger narrative. This is head on, like, everything's been flipped on its head. Just watch this whole entire thing play out. It was pretty fantastic. I loved Season 3.
Right, but let's be honest. It was intended to be episodic. The manga went for how long episodic? It was like that until basically the writer decided, hey, why don't we do something with everything? And I get the feeling that I think at that time he decided he maybe wanted to end the series. But because of the natural episodic nature of it, he couldn't just end it. He had to find some way to end it.
I'm not saying that, though, because even if you look at the manga and the anime, they both have very similar trends, where the story is slowly coming to focus over time. Like, they drop hints and bits throughout both the anime and the manga that there's something bigger. And then you finally get to something bigger, and it's like, wow, amazing. Now, I'm not going to say, like, everything about The World God Knows is perfect, but I am going to say that that I don't have a problem with that. That I have no problem with. It just ends kind of there, as long as what was coming up to it was like this huge climactic event that just, and they at least solved that big climactic event. It was fantastic. My problem with Devil's a Part-Timer is that it feels like this is the start of the story, like the first bit of it, and there's so much going on at the moment. Like there's all these plot lines that are kind of shooting out from the side, but none of them are resolved, and you just kind of get this inconclusive ending, and you're like,
that was an issue with Hataraki no Maosama, is that there was a lot of things they didn't tell us.
And then after Hakume got killed is done airing, Season 2 of Devil's Part-Timer announced.
No, it's probably not going to happen, but whatever.
I'm not going to say it's probably not going to happen. White Fox does have a trend of making sequels when they feel like they kind of want to do a sequel to that. At the same time, it's just Devil's a Part-Timer is my problem with it is similar to what I have with something like My Romantic Teen Comedy Snafu, is that it just kind of stops. Full break, stop. Like, the entire plot arcs are still kind of left dangling there. This feels more like a mid-season stopping point rather than a series stopping point.
That comes into, I guess, I just gotta say, it comes into underfunding or not enough material. I wanna look at, like, which one was it? I'm trying to think of the name. It was the one with the guy who was, like, one of the kings of hell, who was a demon, and the human girl dies, and he's, like, an otaku. Annie Bells? No? Maybe? Hello?
Stop being
Sounds
hipster.
like the combination how you'd make a generic anime.
I can't remember what the series is, but the point is that they animated it, right? And they literally animated 11 episodes of it, and the whole 11 episodes were the entire manga. So that's what you got stuck with. And the manga's ongoing as well. It wasn't over, it's just, like, that's what you got out of 11 episodes. You got everything that was done, so you can imagine that there was still more to the story than basically we got.
Well, even with, like, going back to, like, High School of the Dead, it had endings just like this. It went literally, like, 2 or 3 chapters, like, behind where the manga was, and then ended, so.
Right, and, I can look at Hunter x Hunter and say the same thing. They blew through the Hunter exam arc, and then they got to the Chimera arc and realized that,
and they're like,
wait, all of a sudden they were like, hey, we're really caught up, aren't we? Why don't we slow everything down by, like, 1,000 hours, and let's go.
And make 6 episodes, 3 minutes.
Right.
Here's a good part, though, about at least Devil's a Part-Timer compared to some other shows. Like, High School of the Dead, yeah, your hope of getting sequels kind of fading without the author continuing the material at all.
Start with Tragex, damn it. That's getting an anime, too.
Yeah. But the thing is, with Studio White Fox, is they're known to create sequels to series. Like, they made a second season of the Jormungand. They did the Steins Gate movie. They are known to actually make sequels to properties they actually have worked with in the past. So it's not impossible to say Devil's a Part-Timer, which just came out, like, last year. It was a 2013 release. That they aren't going to go after a Kameka Kills done and say, hey, we're going to do Devil's a Part-Timer Part 2.
Yeah, well, I don't think that we're gonna
because
get
they can't do a
second
sequel
season.
to Akame right now because, from what I can tell with the animes, it's going to end pretty close to where the manga is right now, and the manga's kind of dealing with a big arc at the moment, so they aren't going to be able to make a season 2 to that right away. So they might go back to one of their previous works,
or they might just do an original anime ending.
Oh. Because, that'd make Akame.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, but if they do it sometimes, they do it.
They do it. Full
Series do it, yeah.
Full Metal Alchemist. Okay, that's unfair to say to Full Metal Alchemist, because it did it pretty much close to an anime original story in general. It didn't just do a...
Yeah, but that doesn't
anime
excuse
original.
it.
You'd think of something more like Blue Exorcist, where it's very anime original ending.
You can also look at Noragami
seen
was an original anime ending as well.
Yeah, but that's kind of what the Trend Bones does in general. They like to do that.
Well, they can burn in hell.
They'd like to do that.
They'd like to burn in hell?
No, I mean, like, they just like to make anime original endings to their, to their
but the anime original endings usually are always inferior.
It's not that they're inferior, it's just that they don't match up with things, usually.
Bones they are.
Noragami wasn't that bad for an original anime ending. In Noragami's case, at least.
The good part about the Noragami's ending is that it doesn't end the story, it just kind of ended with a big bang, so they had a big bang ending.
Right, and they still, there's a lot that you don't know still, I think, in Noragami.
Yeah, there's enough, like, threads going on with Noragami that they can easily pick up the series if they ever want to.
If they ever want to, so never, basically. But yeah.
Compared to, let's say, Blue Exorcist, where it's very definitive, this is the end.
I mean...
We've got to redo that entire last 8 episodes.
You say that, but if you look
2.
at Black Butler, yeah, they did on the first season, I believe that they did an original anime ending. They did a second season that was totally anime original. They went back just this last season, I believe, and released basically a cut, and they basically said after one of the arcs in the first season, you then skip everything else that we released and go straight to this if you want the manga following, and release the manga
That
arc.
is extremely rare.
And it was like 11 episodes as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, though, that is extremely rare for a studio to actually do that.
No, I'm not saying that it's, common, but I'm just saying that it is done before.
That's been done before, but I wouldn't necessarily say that is always the best way to do it.
And sometimes you can only do it that way. I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to think of another series. I have it kind of, but I can't remember about it. But I know that there's another series that did that as well. They kind of will exclude this last little bit and we'll continue it. I just can't remember what the series was.
But speaking of series overall, what have people been kind of watching recently in general? I know Lee's been watching a lot of currently stuff, so.
Well, the problem with me is that university has started here in Germany, so I had no time at all.
What's free time?
Yeah. Especially if after 3 lessons they stop speaking either German or English and it's 100% Japanese and you're like, wait, what? So I've been studying a lot. So the only thing I really have been watching in the last couple of times is the airing stuff that I'm enjoying. I don't really know what is the most important from my list. I know that Wexter has recommended, I think, Grisaya to me and was like, that's really good, you have to watch it. So
I'm waiting for the visual novel. I'm not waiting for it, I'm going to read the visual novel first and then I'll watch it.
Have you been watching it, Wexter?
Oh, Grisaya? Yeah, I've been watching Grisaya. I'm really digging it.
Yeah, it is funny. To see I'm a fan of overpowered MCs. So if there's not always this, oh my goodness, will I win this fight question? That's something I enjoy more than, yeah.
Grisaya is action?
No, not really. But
the MC is OP, though.
The
it's not action, but the MC is OP.
Yeah.
What do you mean he's OP? This doesn't make sense.
No, he's basically, this is so spoilers, but he's kind of a, I think Luke might have figured this out yet, but he's a bit of a military brat.
Yeah. So you mean OP maybe I have to watch it. That sounds like my kind of guy.
Yeah,
it's like a military brat inserted into regular high school life.
That sounds like my kind of guy.
Yeah, he's pretty OP, as in, he's really, really quick, and at the same time, he's very smart and intelligent, and he's got such a dry sense of humor. It's kind of hilarious.
It's really funny. And
I might have to go watch it then.
Speaking of this dry sense of humor, this really overpowered MC, I've been watching Okami Shoujo, as I was predicting, and I love this show. Oh my goodness. It's probably one of the most enjoyable shoujo shows that are animated that I've found. Because the MC treats the girl so bad that you can't help but really enjoy it if you have a really dark heart like me.
That sounds
bad in a comedic sense, not a literal sense.
Yeah, it's he makes her his dog and it's really good.
This sounds like something I'm gonna need to
watch.
I'm
waiting for the sex puns. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm waiting
Everyone needs to watch it.
Spice Wolf Season 3, guys? Yeah. Is this secretly Spice Wolf Season 3?
No.
Is it? No, but I know me and Lee have been watching this series of shorts called I Can't Understand What My Husband Is Saying. Oh my god.
Well, that's what you give her having a husband.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. So, for anyone who doesn't understand it, it's a show about an otaku who gets marries obviously a girl that is zero otaku. And it's all from the point of view of the girl. And she's not always from her point of view. Some bits are from the male point of view, but mostly it's from her perspective. You see how talking normally can sometimes ruin their lives, and how sometimes them just talking regularly can like completely switch off her mind because it's like gibberish basically, and it's really funny.
One of my favorite skits is in like the first episode. This is pretty minor spoilers, but he's talking about waifus. And she's like, I am your wife. He's just like, but you are not my waifu, blah! She's just like got this confused face of, what?
So the part of the pun in that is how you pronounce wife in Japanese. The English pronunciation, right? That's part of the joke.
Yeah.
Is because you'd say like waifu, like that'd be how a Japanese person would say wife. But then you have the counterpart of the meme, which I think they're kind of breaking the wall here, is the meme waifu is kind of there. So she doesn't know what waifu is, and she thinks he's just saying wife. Is that the idea of it?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the kind of joke that works both in English and Japanese. It works in both languages, which is kind of funny, which I find really, really good. It's pretty funny. It's got to be one of my favorite comedies of the year by far.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Better than Himigoto out of 10. Because, I mean, Himigoto was pretty good, right, Lee?
Himigoto? So wait, Himigoto is 10 and I should rate it now, or what?
Himigoto is 10 out of 10 and you should rate it now.
Okay.
I disagree completely, but whatever.
It's called Joke Heavenly.
I don't joke. You know this.
I mean, the show is pretty funny, but I mean, it's Himigoto.
And therein lies the issue. When I
It's
type
really
in
hard.
Himigoto,
I can't
I
say
get.
it.
When I type in Himigoto, the first thing I get are nudes. So, what does that tell you?
It's a good show.
That tells you that it's a great show about traps.
Right. You know, I don't mind my trap anime. I've seen Otoboku, and I've seen, Kaichu, which I don't think you guys know what that is. But, this seems like a different type of trap.
It's a comedic
Seems like
trap.
Colonel Akbar. Trap!
And I don't think we ever had the opportunity to talk about this, but is anybody else watching Psycho Pass Season 2 yet?
No.
I watched the first episode. I didn't really watch the second episode. I wasn't really in the mood to watch the second episode. The first episode didn't keep me entertained all that much. So, I mean, I'll watch the second episode eventually. I'll get to it.
Well, I do have a similar problem with you.
I'm
Is that
going to watch it.
my problem with the first episode is that really you aren't going to watch it at all.
Yeah.
Wow. No, but I mean, if I do have a problem with the first episode, you might actually agree with this, Heavenly, is that you don't get the same impact that you got from the first episode of the original Psycho Pass.
Impact in what way?
Like, when they first introduced the Enforcers in Psycho Pass Season 1, it was like this very kind of dark, like the framing of the entire scene was like this. It felt like you were releasing like a monster from a cage.
Right.
Well, in Season 2, it kind of feels like they're just, like, they introduced some new Enforcers, and I'm just like,
Part of that is that their personalities are very different. I think that in the first season when you see, what's his name?
Kogami.
Kogami, when you see him step out of the thing, you kind of know he's that lone wolf character. He has this intimidating presence. And you also have Akane, who is very afraid of them almost. She's hesitant. She's afraid of even, the gun. She's very timid at the beginning. So you kind of get this, it almost implies that there's something to be afraid of there, when in reality there wasn't much.
Yeah, but I mean at the same time, it's kind of the difference of the framing of the shots were done differently.
It's also because it's a different animation studio.
Right. That could also play a role in how they kind of give it to you.
Pretty sure it's all done by the same IG.
No, it's not. They switched it over. It's no longer IG.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I got you then. But I mean, at the same time, it's just kind of, they introduced the two new Enforcers, and and they just kind of feel like they were there to say, oh, we got new characters, but...
Yeah, it's a bit early to judge that.
No, I'm just talking about, like, the first episode, so I can understand why you were kind of disinterested.
No, I understand, but I think it's a bit early to judge that. It's just that there was nothing in Psycho Pass 2 that made me really want to come back to it after watching the first episode. I mean, I will go back and watch it. I just haven't had anything that has really enticed me into doing that.
And that's why I think episode 2 is just overall better. Like, it's a better episode than episode 1.
Right.
Because you get more of the new Enforcers, like, you kind of understand them more, and you like these new character interactions that they're bringing to the group, and you're enjoying, like, all the old characters integrating with the new. It's kind of a cool dynamic.
Right.
And then you've got this new mystery that actually gets introduced, and you're like, now I'm hooked.
Well,
like episode 1,
I kind of going to add to the already pre-existing
episode 2,
universe.
it's actually been added pretty well. It feels like a natural progression rather than a slap on to a conclusive ending.
I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
a very large grain of salt.
Like a tablespoon or maybe a few cups of salt.
Yeah, but I mean, it depends on how this entire series plays out.
Yeah, it's a bit early to judge it at the moment. I would say that they did a continuation, and that's all Psycho-Pass 2 is right now.
I'm just saying, though, from the episode that I watched, episode 2, you guys haven't seen that yet, but it feels like the story that they're setting up in place is the progression, the next step in the actual narrative of Psycho-Pass. It feels
we'll see. Step. I'm expecting Kogami to come back. He probably will, just because that's how it works. You know, you can't not bring him back. Like
he wasn't even the main character to begin with, is the thing. So
right, but he was the main focus.
Yeah.
Like, everything that was happening, even though the story wasn't... So, like, the way main character works is you have main character can be kind of sliced up in two ways. It can be the person that the story is revolving around, and the person that the story is about.
What Heavenly is saying is that he was a major protagonist. But
he was still a main character. Like, without him, the story could not happen.
He was the second character.
I mean, I would go as far as to say that Makishima was a main character as well, because he was.
Here's the thing, though. When you're talking about narrative, there's two things. You got the protagonist and you got the antagonist. Now, they don't necessarily always have to be one character to be protagonist or antagonist. Sometimes it could be a force versus the other.
Right. No, I'm not talking about protagonist and antagonist. I'm just saying you can classify. But what he's describing is
basically Kogami and Akame in season 1 were the main protagonists. They both shared the role of main character.
Right. They were main characters, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they're antagonists or protagonists.
Without Kogami, Akane's foil is not the same. You don't have the same story. It just would not work the same. If you didn't have Akane in season 1, it wouldn't have been the same show, wouldn't have had the same feeling. So they were both equally important to get the first season story across. So Kogami is going to probably be introduced in season 2 at some point because of how important he is to the overall Psycho-Pass narrative.
Right, and the truth is they have to mention him at some point because they never really say what exactly happens to him.
Yeah. And he does appear in the intro of the anime, so I'm going to assume he does come into play at some point. You know, they wouldn't just tease a character to say, oh, he's never going to show up. That's kind of like, let's say, in the latest Gundam series, Gundam Regesta and G, they were to show Char in the opening. Like, they actually heavily promote Char, and then they go, Char's not in this series.
Right, and normally I have a taboo against watching openings because they usually include a fair amount of spoilers and foreshadowing.
Oh.
And they do. Let's be honest, they do.
Yeah, Psycho-Pass is notorious for this.
It's not even Psycho-Pass in general. In general, series will give a whole bunch of foreshadowing in their opening. Some of them don't, and, like, I think...
Like, even,
Yeah, a lot of them do. I'm almost having difficulty thinking of ones that don't. I guess maybe like the shoujo kind of series don't really do that because there's not really many spoilers. They don't need to. Right? Like we already know. But like a lot of action series include spoilers in their opening.
Like I heard that with Ergo Proxy, like it shows like one of the like main like climax of the show in their opening. You just have to look for it because it's hard to pick out. And stuff like that.
That's what I did with Psycho-Pass. I decided I'd just go ahead and watch the opening to see what I was getting myself into, because I'm going to assume there's a whole bunch of foreshadowing in it, and I highly doubt that there isn't. So I kind of already built the plot out, I think. I've got an idea of how things are going to unfold, who's who, that kind of stuff.
I have a similar feeling, and this is the thing, though, why I said Psycho-Pass is, like, notorious for it. If you watch the second opening of Psycho-Pass 2, Psycho-Pass 1, the second opening of that, and you know how the story plays out in the second half, huge spoilers for everything.
Right, and yeah, that's usually why I don't watch openings, but in this case I decided I'd go ahead and watch it and see what was going to come out of it.
Yeah. But it's just, to me, though, I feel like the villain and the entire story just feels like the natural next step. You're probably going to need to watch episode 2 to understand what I'm saying about that.
Yeah, today's Saturday. It's a busy day. I've got a bunch of series that want to be watched by me right now. So,
I mean, come on. We have a Fate Stay Night coming out in like
we got like
minutes.
Fate Stay Night. I got Log Horizon 2. Got Sword Art Online 2. What else is there? I think there's something else.
So many season 2s.
Right.
Chaika season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, though, I feel like the fall season, or at least the 5 shows I'm major watching, I'm holding off on Gundam until a few more episodes are out, but it's been actually pretty good. I don't have any major complaints about it. I like this season of shows. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good
Except
stuff.
for Girlfriend Kari.
Right.
Girlfriend Kari.
Like I said before, is I think that this season has a lot of good things, and I think a lot of it's going to be overlooked and not paid attention to, which is a shame.
Like
That
Girlfriend
happens
Kari?
a lot. That's how you find
Yeah.
hidden gems.
Right,
Hey,
well,
Lee,
I don't
how's
want them to
Girlfriend
be
Kari?
hidden gems. I want them to be very beautiful gems on a pedestal so I can tell everyone that I watched it.
Hey, Lee,
They're
how's
not
Girlfriend
popular.
Kari?
No,
Is it good?
No.
Is it good?
No.
Not
Was I
really.
right in my prediction?
No.
Not if you care about correct pronunciation of fake accents or
Of
something.
fake
like
French
that.
accents.
Yeah. Oh, fuck that.
Oh.
It also was not what it was advertised to be, which is also, that's kind of not how you really introduce your viewers when they're expecting something and they get something completely different.
Was it Yuri or isn't it?
The thing was, it was not advertised as Yuri, but
It was not. It was advertised as somewhat of like a dating
Yeah.
sim anime.
Right.
Which I
mean,
looked at and I'm like, oh, this is going to be Forever Alone, but it actually looks kind of unique. I'll give it a try.
I feel like what you're telling me right
it's,
now
like,
is that you
furious.
opened up a chocolate bar and you found 2 chocolate bars and you're complaining about that.
Heavenly. The problem is,
No.
I didn't really wanted to watch it, but then I found out that it was Yuri, and I thought, well, maybe you could give it a try. I mean, it's Yuri, so why not? But this show
It's more
is just
shoujo ai than
bad.
anything. It's not really Yuri, it's just shoujo
Yeah.
ai.
Oh, man, so I was right on the nose. Don't bother with Girlfriend Kari.
You know, I'm almost tempted to go watch
Well,
it now.
only the first episode's out. Who knows? Maybe the second episode will be worse.
Yeah, don't kid yourself.
I'm still probably going to watch episode 2, and I'm probably going to shoot myself in the face. Because
If you need assistance, you know I'm here for you.
I don't want to go over there. There's risk of Ebola.
You're gonna be dead anyways, you'll be alright.
The question is, though, he dies of Ebola or gunshot to the face, both of which aren't pleasant.
What are you talking about? I've never heard of
Why
any.
is it
Hey,
more
listen. I've never heard of anyone complain about being shot in the face. All right.
Well, all the ones that survived it have been complaining. So
And I'm telling you that anyone I've shot in the face hasn't survived it. So what does that tell you?
That tells
Like,
us that you're a
guys,
fucking
don't go to
murderer and we
Texas.
should
No,
scare
like
podcasts.
those people who are surviving gunshot wounds are because they're using like weak bullets. None of that happens in my place. Trust me.
Okay, we're getting a little bit off topic.
All right,
I think it's
so-
a little bit time for us to end it.
Oh, is that
Yeah, I
how
agree to
you're
that.
going into it?
Let's shoot
Let's
this
end-
pass in the
yeah.
face.
All right.
Yeah, Psycho Heavenly shot
Uh-huh.
this episode in the face would be the
Right.
title.
Right. So we're gonna blame
Psycho
me
Heavenly
for it.
Psychopaths.
He's very clouded.
Extremely clouded.
Like how clouded are we talking?
We're talking.
We're talking about like red, like hardcore red, like possibly black cloud.
I'll take it.
Alrighty. Well,
Okay.
that was a interesting episode of Homecast. This time we talked about you know what we talked about. Why am I even bothering to say it? But my name is Luke, aka Luca, and with me today I had Wexter,
Jana.
Lideu,
Good evening, everyone.
and Heavenly.
I'll see you guys later.
And we'll see all of you later, I guess. Bye bye.